Hello, everyone. Good evening. It is July 26th, 2026. I'm Marie Johnson, and you are listening to Histories of Horror.
And I'm A.L. Knuckles. Welcome back to Histories of Horror. Tonight is a truly special broadcast for us. If you're listening to this episode as it drops, we are officially sitting at the eve of our 1 year launch anniversary. Exactly 1 year ago, Sai and I launched this project to deep dive into the darkest corners of human history and true crime. We want to extend our deepest gratitude to every single one of you who has joined us on this journey.
That's right. It's been an incredible year of storytelling, and we couldn't be more grateful for this community. To mark this anniversary, we are tackling one of the most long standing, agonizing serial killer case sagas in modern American history, a case that haunted Long Island for over 3 decades. The Long Island serial killer, also known as the Gilgo Beach Killer.
For over 10 years, the bush and brambles lining Ocean Parkway on Fire Island held a horrific secret. It all began May 2010 with the frantic 911 call of a 23-year-old woman named Shannon Gilbert screaming that someone was after her before vanishing into the marshlands of Oak Beach.
While searching for Shannon, police dogs stumbled upon something even more nightmarish. Not Shannon, but the skeletal remains of another young woman wrapped up in burlap. Within days, three more bodies were uncovered along that same lonely strip of highway. A predator had been using Long Island as his personal graveyard for decades.
Those first four victims, discovered in December 2010, quickly became known to the public as the Gilgo Four. Maureen Brainerd Barnes, Melissa Barthélemy, Megan Waterman, and Amber Lynn Costello. All four were young, petite women working as independent escorts who disappeared between 2007 and 2010.
What made their story so profoundly heartbreaking was how vulnerable they were and how cruelty followed their disappearances. Shortly after 24-year-old Melissa Barthélemy vanished in July 2009, her 15-year-old sister began receiving a series of terrifying, taunting phone calls from Melissa's own cell phone.
The caller spoke in calm, flat tones, asking vulgar questions and mocking the family. In the final call, the killer coldly informed the teenage girl that her sister was dead and that he was going to watch her body rot.
Investigators traced those calls to high traffic areas in Midtown Manhattan, including Times Square and Madison Square Garden, as well as Massapequa Park on Long Island. But despite tracking the cell tower pings, the killer vanished like a ghost in the crowd, leaving law enforcement empty handed for years.
As the investigation expanded through 2011, police realized the body count along Ocean Parkway was far larger than four. Additional sets of remains were uncovered, revealing crimes that reached back into the 1990s.
These included partial remains of Jessica Taylor, missing since 2003, and Valerie Mack, missing since 2000. Parts of their bodies had previously been discovered years earlier in the wooded areas of Manorville, miles away, proving that the killer had been dumping remains across multiple locations over a vast timeline.
There was also Karen Vergata, whose remains were split between Fire Island in 1996 and Nassau County in 2011, and Sandra Castillo, who was murdered back in late 1993.
For years, corruption within the Suffolk County Police Department, bureaucratic infighting, and a failure to take the disappearances of sex workers seriously stalled the investigation. The families were left in an agonizing limbo, wondering if the monster who took their loved ones would ever face justice.
While the public speculated whether the killer was a police officer, a local politician, or a transient drifter, the real killer was living in plain sight in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Massapequa Park.
His name was Rex Heuermann. To his neighbors, he was a somewhat odd, towering figure, 6'4", quiet, and imposing. To the business world, he was a successful, highly credentialed Manhattan architectural consultant, and founder of RH Consultants and Associates.
Heuermann commuted every single day on the Long Island Railroad into mid-Manhattan. He navigated complex New York City building codes, interacted with city officials, and ran a respectable business.
But behind that professional veneer lay a dark, compartmentalized double life. He was a man who used his expert knowledge of urban infrastructure, burner phones, and digital privacy to meticulously plan and execute horrific acts of violence, believing he was far too intelligent to ever be caught.
The turning point in this cold case came early 2022 when a newly formed Gilgo Beach Homicide Task Force combining local police, state troopers, and the FBI re-examined every single piece of evidence from the original investigation.
They focused on a critical witness statement from the night Amber Lynn Costello disappeared in September 2010. A friend of Amber's recalled seeing a large, ogre-like man standing over 6'4" who had come to meet her, driving a distinctive first-generation dark Chevy Avalanche.
Investigators cross-referenced DMV records for the first-generation Chevy Avalanches in Nassau and Suffolk counties, matching that physical description. One name immediately jumped out: Rex Heuermann, living in Massapequa Park, directly across the bay from where the bodies were found.
From that moment, the trap was set. Federal agents and local detectives put Heuermann under 24-hour surveillance, quietly piecing together his digital footprint without him ever knowing he was in their sights.
As investigators dug into Heuermann's digital life, the evidence became overwhelming. They linked multiple fictitious email accounts and burner phones to his personal cell phone pings.
The pings for the burner phones used to contact the victims and to make those horrific taunting calls to Melissa Bartholomew's sister matched Heuermann's movements between his office in Midtown Manhattan and his home in Massapequa Park with near perfect precision.
Furthermore, grand jury subpoenas revealed that Heuermann was using burner accounts to conduct hundreds of disturbing online searches for sadistic pornography, updates on the Gilgo Beach investigation, and information about the victims and their families.
The final evidentiary link came from the trash. In early 2023, undercover officers watching Heuermann's Manhattan office retrieved a discarded pizza box he had tossed into a street bin. DNA extracted from a leftover pizza crust was matched to a male hair found on the burlap used to wrap Megan Waterman's body. On July 13, 2023, law enforcement moved in and arrested Rex Heuermann on the streets of Midtown.
Following his arrest, the legal processes unfolded as forensic teams spent weeks excavating Heuermann's Massapequa Park home, seizing hundreds of weapons and overwhelming physical evidence.
Over the following years, additional charges were stacked against him as advanced DNA matching tied him to victim after victim. Then, earlier this year, in April 2026, came the moment the victims' families had been waiting decades to see.
Rex Heuermann stood in a Suffolk County courtroom and entered a formal guilty plea to 8 murders. The Gilgo Four: Melissa Bartholomew, Marlene Brainerd Barnes, Megan Waterman, Amber Lynn Costello, along with Valerie Mack, Jessica Taylor, Sandra Castillo, and Karen Vergata.
Just this last month, in June of 2026, Heuermann was sentenced to multiple consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. In court, he sat in silence as family members delivered devastating impact statements, finally stripping him of his power and exposing him for the coward that he truly is.
The resolution of the Gilgo Beach murders brings an end to one of the most antagonizing chapters in New York law enforcement history. But the true story isn't about Rex Heuermann. It's about the women whose lives were stolen.
For years, society marginalized these women because of their work, but their families refused to let the world forget them. Their strength, alongside the dedicated task force members who reopened the case, proved that every single life has value and that justice can eventually prevail, no matter how long it takes.
As we close out this special Anniversary Eve episode here in late July 2026, we want to reiterate our thanks to all of you for listening to Histories of Horror. 1 year down and many more stories to tell.
I just want to take a second here to say that the last few months we have done a lot of true crime stories and emphasizing on those. And as we move into season 2, As many of you noted, we did a lot more paranormal and supernatural at the start of Histories of Horror last summer, and we will definitely be picking that up more as we move towards. I know we're in summerween now, but we will be moving towards fall and Halloween here quickly, which is AL and I's favorite season. So
Yes.
stick around and just know we will definitely have lots in store for you. And as always, thank you for walking through the darkness with us here on Histories of Horror. I'm Cy Marie Johnson.
And I'm AO Knuckles. Stay vigilant, take care of one another, and we'll see you next time on Histories of Horror.